Listen to me. You go down to the piazza and ask 10 fools how to keep the house from falling down, and you will get 10 lies. One tells you to throw away the bread, another tells you to eat like a wolf in the hills, and a third says to eat only the grass like a goat. For 10 years, I have watched the white coat try to fix the damage with their poison pills, but they do not know the soul of the kitchen. They tell you to follow rules that no sane person can keep for more than a moon. It is better to have a roof that is mostly straight than a perfect one that collapses in 6 months. Do not chase the fancy lies of the city. Instead, you must find the foods that have always kept the village strong. I smell the wet earth. You must understand how the rust begins to eat your pipes before you can fix them. The white coat wants to talk about numbers, but I tell you it is a storm inside the walls. It is not just the grease in the pot or the death dust on the table. The rust starts when the thin skin of the pipes gets a scratch, and then the little particles slip through like thieves in the night. Your village guards try to fix it, but they are clumsy and only make the sludge grow bigger. The more the air turns sour and heavy, the more the cycle repeats until the water cannot flow. I hear the sound of the cracking bone in the cold morning air. You must clean the pipes with the old ways, or your house will surely fall to the ground soon. Look for the red fruits, the ones that bleed like the sun setting over the Mediterranean. They carry the secret that stops the rust from eating the iron. The tomatoes, the watermelons, and the pink grapefruits are like small brushes that sweep the pipes clean. When the white coat talks about their studies in Finland, they are finally learning what we knew when we were children pulling fruit from the branch. This red magic targets the bad air that causes the damage to the cells. If you do not eat these, the rust will spread like fire through a dry field in August. I can taste the bitter rust on the back of my tongue. You must bring these red treasures into your kitchen every day if you want your pipes to stay smooth and strong like the old Roman stone. Then you have the seeds and the nuts, the little things that look like pebbles but hold the strength of the mountains. These things compete with the grease in your belly so the sludge cannot enter the river. But the real magic is in the liver, the master of the house. When it sees you are not eating the grease from the outside, it starts pulling the bad particles out of the pipes to keep the balance. This is how you stop the sludge from building up and blocking the way. The white coat calls it science, but I call it common sense. If you do not use these little brooms, the pipes will choke and your furnace will go cold. I see the dirt under the fingernails of the men who work the land. Listen to Nonna, or suffer the rot. You must also look for the colorful gifts of the earth, the ones the white coat calls flavonoids. I call them the soap for your pipes. Berries, apples, and even the dark chocolate that tastes like the deep earth are what you need. When the sludge starts to sit in the river, it makes the walls of the house sticky like old honey left in the sun. These fruits come in and make the pipes slippery so nothing can grab hold. I remember the smell of the wild berries in the hills, crushed under my boots, staining the soil purple and sweet. If you do not eat these, the rust will settle and the fire will grow until the house is in danger. The white coat says it calms the guards, but I know it just keeps the house clean. I feel the cold stone of the cellar today. Drink the tea, the dark leaves that come from the far lands. The white coat talks about catechins, but it is simply the water of life for your pipes. 3 cups a day, or even more if you have the time to sit and watch the goats, will keep the master in the attic from being struck down by the lightning. I have seen strong men fall because they let their river get clogged with the white sand and forgot the tea. It reduces the risk of the great stroke by more than 20%. I can hear the whistle of the kettle. a sharp sound that cuts through the silence of the afternoon. The steam rises, like the ghosts of the old ones, telling you to swallow the bitterness so you may stay strong. If you ignore the tea, you are inviting the thief to come. Now we talk about the gold of our land, the extra virgin olive oil that we press until our hands are tired and stained. This is the ultimate oil for the furnace. It is full of the things that fight the rust and keep the fire from burning down the kitchen. The white coat says it helps the janitors work better, but I know it just makes the pipes smooth like a silk ribbon. When you pour it over your bread, you are sealing the walls of the house against the dampness of the winter. I can smell the heavy, peppery scent of the fresh press, a smell that makes the heart beat with the rhythm of the harvest. If you use the cheap oils from the factory, you are pouring liquid lead into your river. Only the gold will keep your pipes from cracking. You must go to the sea and find the silver fish, the ones that swim against the current. The salmon, the mackerel, and my favorite, the little sardines, are full of the oils that calm the rust. The white coat calls them omega-3s, but they are really just the grease that keeps the pipes from squeaking. They make the pipes stable so they do not burst like a frozen well in the night. I remember the sound of the waves hitting the rocks, the salt spray stinging my eyes, as the fishermen brought in the nets full of life. If you eat these fish 3 times a week, you keep the river flowing and the master in the attic sharp. Without the fish, your pipes become brittle like dry twigs, ready to snap at the first sign of a storm. It is not enough to just eat the good things from the garden. You must stop the poisons from the factory that set the fire in your belly. The white coat calls them carbohydrates, but I call them the white sand that grinds the gears of your furnace. They are the pastries and the white breads that turn into a thick glue inside your pipes, stopping the river from flowing to the master in the attic. I see you looking at those sweet treats in the window, but they are nothing but death dust wrapped in paper. I remember the smell of the charcoal fire when we baked the real bread, hard and honest, not this soft air that rots the teeth and the spirit. If you keep feeding the rust with this sugar, your walls of the house will crumble before the first snow. Stop being a foolish, lazy child. There are lies told in the market by men in suits who want your coins more than your health. They sell you the yogurt that tastes like fruit, but it is packed with the glue that makes the janitors go on strike. They call it healthy, but it is a poison pill for your furnace. Buy the plain fat yogurt, the kind that smells like the goat's milk from the high pastures, and add your own honey if you must be weak. And the cereals. They are just dessert in a box, a pile of white sand that makes your river thick and sluggish. I can hear the crunch of the dry grass in the summer heat, and that is what those boxes taste like, dust and lies. If you do not listen, the rust will win and the pipes will fail. You are being fooled by colorful paper. Even the fruit can be a trap if you are lazy and drink it from a glass. The white coat says the juice is good, but it is just the white sand without the skin and the fiber that protects the house. When you strip away the shell, the sugar hits your furnace like a bucket of gasoline on a candle. You get the pancreas panic, and the janitors cannot keep up with the mess. You must eat the whole fruit, the way the earth gave it to you, with the skin that has felt the sun and the rain. I remember the sticky juice of a fresh peach running down my chin, the fuzz tickling my nose as I stood under the tree. This liquid lying in bottles is not for you. It turns your river into syrup and makes the pipes heavy. Stop the drinking. Now, you must move your bones or they will turn to salt. The white coat found a secret that we always knew. You must push the furnace until you sweat. They call it high-intensity training, but it is just the hard work of the mountain. If you push yourself for 6 months, the sludge in your pipes can actually go away, even better than the poison pills they try to sell you. I see the young people sitting like stones, while the old ones used to climb the hills with the sheep every morning. I can feel the sting of the sweat in my eyes and the way the lungs burn when the air is thin and cold. This movement is the broom that sweeps the river clean of the rust. If you stay still, the house will rot from the inside. Move now. The white coat wants to give you a bottle of chemicals, but I tell you to look at the garlic, the stinking rose that keeps the evil eye away. They have their trials and their fancy words, but it is simple. The aged garlic keeps the sludge from hardening in your pipes. It keeps the river from pushing too hard against the walls of the house. I remember my mother hanging the braids of garlic from the rafters, the dry, papery skin crinkling in her hands like an old map. The smell would fill the kitchen, sharp and deep, biting at your nose until you felt alive. When you take this extract, you are telling the rust it is not welcome here. It stabilizes the weak spots in the pipes, so they do not burst when the winter comes. Without the garlic, you are defenseless against the slow decay now. Then there is the heat, the fire of the earth that cleanses the soul, and the pipes. The white coat calls it sauna therapy, but it is just the sweat of the ancestors. Sitting in the hot box makes the walls of the house breathe, and the river flows smooth. It trains the thin skin of your pipes to be strong and flexible, not brittle like a dry branch. I remember the smell of the damp cedar wood and the hiss of water hitting the stones, a sound like 1,000 angry snakes. The steam fills your lungs until you think you cannot take another breath, and then the sweat pours out of you, carrying the poisons of the city away. It lowers the chance that the master will leave the attic too soon. If you do not sweat, you are just a stagnant pond where the rust grows.